What is up, guys? Alright, so today we're going to take a look at a couple of NECA figures. This is Flash Gordon and the Phantom from the Defenders of the Earth line. And I've got a few handful of NECA figures, and I'm kind of starting to dig them more and more. Especially when you're looking at what prices are doing, especially with, I don't know, let's say Marvel Legends. You know, when you're paying $25 to $33 a figure, I mean, are there better figures on the market in that same price range? I don't know. NECA does pretty good, so pick these guys up. Want to check them out. So we got both of them here, and in the package they're looking pretty good. Nice, nice and slick looking there. We got Flash Gordon with laser blaster, blast effects, and sword. And of course we've got Phantom with Zuffy, laser blaster, and effects. So we got them there. Got the backs of the package there. Got our little bios on the back for the characters. Shows you the rest of the line. I really want to get Lothar. He looks really cool. So looking forward to trying to pick him up at a not ridiculous price. But got these guys out here, so let's go ahead and crack them open and see what we got. Alright, so we have them out of the package. Let's look at accessories first. First off, we'll start with Flash, and he comes with a couple of gripping hands here. He's also got a trigger hand right there. Then, of course, he has his sword. Nice translucent sword. Looks good. I love the paint apps on it. It's nicely done. Could have just been like one solid color. They actually added some paint to it to make it look nice. And then, of course, we have our little laser pistol here. Also comes with a couple of effects. So we got this one right here, which actually does plug in to the end of the laser pistol there. So you got that effect there. That's alright. But I like this one a little bit better, kind of the smaller one here. I think that looks a lot better, just as far as keeping him on the shelf. So we got those. Then, of course, as far as the Phantom goes, we do got a couple extra hands here. One is just a trigger hand, and the other is this hand, this fisted hand here with a hole in the end. And that is to plug this into. So you've got kind of a power ring effect for Phantom there. Of course, I guess you could use it on either one of them. Then we got also the same effects and gun that we got with Flash. So you've got this one, and then of course you've got this one that plug on to the end of that gun. Alright, so now let's talk about the figures. So as far as the figures go, they're basically identical from the legs, the feet, all the way up to the shoulders. Other than the different colors and the emblems on the belt, everything is the same until you get to the shoulder joints, which are different. And then, of course, he's got these pieces there and the collar around his neck, whereas he just has nothing there. And then, of course, the heads are different. But everything else is identical. The hands, the arms, the legs, the torso, the feet, everything else is exactly the same between these two. So let's take a look at the sculpt on this. We'll look at the Phantom here for the sculpt details. Paint is really well done on both of them, just as far as accentuating the sculpt and the muscles and all that kind of stuff. Looks really good. The face sculpt on this guy looks great. It's like the perfect shade of this kind of purplish, grayish blue. Looks just like it did in the cartoon. Very nice. Love that. And then as far as Flash goes here, you can see just some of the differences there on the shoulder, around the neck, and then of course on the head as well. Nice job there on the sculpt on the hair and everything. And again, you got that same like really nice paint work done as far as getting in there and doing all the shading and that kind of stuff. Looks really good. As far as articulation goes, again, they're both basically the same. There's a little difference in head articulation because he's got a collar around his neck, which kind of prevents him from looking down as far as Phantom does. But other than that, their head articulation is exactly the same. They can tilt, they can look up, they can look down, and of course they've got swivel. They can turn their heads around. As far as articulation on the shoulders go, this guy doesn't raise his shoulders quite as high as Phantom does because he's got these pieces right here which are molded in. So he comes up to about right there. Of course, we've got bicep swivels there and double jointed elbows which come in like that. Then, of course, we've got the wrists there with the hinge and the swivel. As far as the torso articulation goes, he can actually bend over pretty decent. Can't bend back too far, a little bit like that. Then of course he's got swivel there at the waist. Hips come out like that. He's got the double jointed knees there that go back that far. He does have calf swivels there, right there. And then of course he's got pivot and rocker there on the feet, like that. And then toe articulation like that. So pretty basic stuff, and again, I'm not going to go through both of them. They're identical in just about every way when it comes to articulation, but they're nice. I mean, I really do like the paint apps. I love the sculpt. Faces are well done. I mean, just in general, these are really, really nice looking figures, and they've got just about all the articulation you could want in a 7-inch scale figure. So let's throw up some comparisons and see how these guys stack up. Alright, so first up, we'll compare him to another 7-inch scale line, DC Multiverse from McFarlane. And on the left, we got Flash versus Flash there. And on the right, we've got Black Adam. And I think this is a great pairing. They look great together if, for some reason, you wanted to display them on the same shelf. And for some more 7-inch scale comparisons, we got Marvel Select here. So we got Bucky Cap on the left and Thor on the right. And now we got Mattel's Masterverse He-Man and Scareglow. And for some 6-inch scale comparisons, we have Marvel Legends on the left. We've got 20 Years Captain America. And on the right, we've got my own little custom superhero Stan Lee. Alright, so the only thing left to talk about here is going to be price. And these guys run between 30 to 35 bucks a piece. So, they are a little more pricey than, let's say, current Marvel Legends, at least for the time being, until they decide to jack up the prices again. And of course, they are significantly more expensive than, let's say, you know, any of the DC Multiverse stuff from McFarlane, or any of the McFarlane stuff, really. And that is a decent jump when you're talking anywhere from 10 to 20 bucks more than the other kind of mainstream 7-inch line that's out right now. That is significant. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? And that comes down to what you think of the overall sculpt and design and that kind of thing versus the characters themselves. Now, I think finally getting a really cool Flash Gordon, and specifically a Phantom figure, who I've been a fan of since I was a kid, is worth the extra money. And it doesn't hurt that, of course, the sculpts and paint apps are fantastic on these things, in addition to just having really good, pretty standard 7-inch scale articulation, at least if you're going to compare it to something like DC Multiverse. So yes, I think it's worth the $30 to $35 price tag that you're going to pay for these guys to have these cool figures in your collection, but ultimately, that's going to be up to you. In general, I love these guys. I'm very happy that I picked them up. I think they're going to look great on my shelf. I'm finally glad that I can get a good Phantom figure. I know we've had a few back in the day from that movie that came out in the early 90s, and that movie is just something we're not even going to discuss. And the figures that came out around the time that movie came out were fine for, you know, 92 or whenever that movie was released, but certainly by modern standards, they're just not good at all. So it is really cool to finally get a cool, well done, well sculpted, well painted 7-inch scale Phantom. That's the one I'm the most excited about between these two. So as far as I'm concerned, they're definitely worth it, and definitely something you should at the very least consider and take a look at.